an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, the Song of Ice and Fire, yada, 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 yada. We're all very tired. Everybody, this is depressing. Get ready to be depressed. Welcome to Some Spoiled.
God damn.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now, kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Sean. And I was unprepared for that intro.
I have had a week.
Yeah, you have.
And I love you all so much. And I appreciate you all so much that every episode of this show, I start off talking about how tired I am. And y'all just let me and you don't yell at me about it. I really, because this is the first show of the week that I do. And it's always just rocky. Mm-hmm. It's tough. Mm-hmm. And it has just been this year. We started this in September. We looked back and figured it out.
We did. September or October. I forget which one.
And really, that's around the time where we all started to fucking crack.
It is true.
So it's not surprising that it's like this, but I really do want to apologize because I want to be better. But I don't have it right now, and I'm doing as well as I can, and I love you all. Thank you for understanding, being patient. Thank you, Rashawn, for listening to me vent for 2 hours before we begin.
I may have gotten a little venting action in there at some point, so I feel like it's fair.
True. So yeah. The yada 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 was not because I don't care about the show. It's just because I, as a person, am yada yadaing my whole life at this moment. That's what I'm doing.
But you yada yada the best part. I mentioned the best.
Yada yada yada. I never saw him again. So, Rashawn, you got real excited right before we started because you opened this book.
You guys, I have the paperback, and flipping through to get to the chapters for tonight's recording, I realized that there's an appendix, which I didn't know until just this moment. And I got so ridiculously excited. It's unfortunate that I wasn't recording, though it's probably for the best.
She got really excited, you guys.
So happy. I love an appendix. I love a book that has an appendix, especially when it's fiction. Because that tells me the person who wrote this shit was so fucking serious about the shit they made up. So whenever there are, a good map in a work of fiction, I'm here for it. Because, plot that shit out. Tell me where this kingdom is in relation to that other kingdom up the road a bit. So this appendix has, it looks like the houses. I'm just flipping through really quickly. And there are names. Oh my God, shut up. It even has, how Stark tells you where they trace their descent from, Brandon the Builder. Oh, and then it lists Eddard and Catelyn and the kids and the... Look at this. It's everybody. Y'all, it's everybody.
I love it. Guys, do you hear how excited she is?
Look at this. Oh, wait, what's happening here? Oh, even the Greyjoys get a mention. And we haven't even met those motherfuckers really yet. Old Dynasty House Targaryen. Shut up. The succession dated by years after Aegon's landing. You guys, this is why when you read fiction, you start thinking to yourself like it's real. Even though we all know it's not real. But it's treated with such respect and gravity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, I remember, and it's starting to see it again now, with the HBO shows that are in production, where I would see people talking about the Song of Ice and Fire histories, and like being like if somebody got something wrong, someone else would pop in and be like, no, that's not that. It was this other thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember being like, these motherfuckers are serious as shit about this.
Yeah, they are.
But I kind of low-key get it now. This is amazing. I wonder if all the books have these.
Let me ask you something. You ever seen a book that has this information and you're like, look, this book is fun, but like, you don't need to do all that. You ever had that where you're just like that? You don't. This doesn't really like merit the effort you clearly put into this.
I can't think of one, but I'm sure I must have over the years. I mentioned this on a couple of other different podcasts over the years, but I went through a weird phase where I was reading a lot of fantasy, but it was like D and C tier fantasy. It wasn't none of to this day I haven't run across in the wild anybody talking about any of the books I read. And the ones I read were like so generic that if I wanted to describe the plot to you, I would be describing 800 books,
Yes, yep.
And I just tore through them like there was fucking popcorn. There was like just nothing to them. And I don't remember much about any of them, but I would imagine some of those books probably fit the description of what you're talking about. Because you figure each writer thinks that they're going to be the next Tolkien, right? So yeah, you better throw a map in that bitch, just in case that shit blows up.
There was a book, I won't name it because I don't want to be a dickhead, but there was a book that had like a glossary at the back that was like explaining some of the slang.
I love that's my favorite.
Let me tell you, this slang was so barely not exactly our slang that there was no reason. It was absolutely implied in every scene that anybody used it. Like, you knew exactly what they meant. It was almost like there's a thing that we'll get to eventually in these books where George R.R. Martin just decides that we're going to use the word uncle, but we're going to put an N in front of it, and that makes it a new word and a unique word to Westeros. Nuncle. And thankfully, he eventually does drop that because I think he realized, that's nothing. But it takes a while, and it's one of those things that you're just like, that really was nothing. Who approved this?
What was this supposed to mean?
It means uncle.
Shut up.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And this is what the other book was like too, where they like changed like a syllable, or like it was something that involved an animal, like they were like sewer hog instead of sewer rat, and you're like, well, yeah, it's an insult. I got that. Like, they live in a sewer. It doesn't matter what the animal is. It's not really the part that...
That's not the insulting part.
But just that kind of thing. I always find it kind of like, on the one hand, I understand the impulse because, I tried doing some writing that's since sort of been shelved for reasons like this, where I do something and I'm immediately like, Natasha, stop it. You're putting the cart before the horse a little bit. Let's get the fucking story on paper before you start worrying about where the tower is located in your fictional land and how many flights it has and what the names of each flight are in this fake language that you haven't even really invented. Anyway, sorry.
One of my first, I read A Clockwork Orange when I was pretty young, actually, because, there were never any adults monitoring what I read. Just never were. So I just read whatever the fuck I could get my hands on. And some editions of that book will come with a glossary at the end for the slang the kids use. And that was one of the first times where I was just like, hold up. He's right. Like, these are some real fucking words. Like, and I remember really being like, but wait, he made it up though. but there's a glossary, so that must mean they're real, and really having this moment of
my God.
Really like understanding that within the realm of fiction, you can create a system that has like logic to it, and things mean what they mean, even if it is all just occurring in this fictional world you created. Yeah. So anyway, super excited about this appendix here. Can't wait to get into that.
So, these 2 chapters.
Boo.
Yeah, a little bit boo.
Yeah. This is it, kids. This is this Arya chapter. This is
Did you call her Arya?
Arya, whatever. I believe I went on record at the beginning of this endeavor saying that yes, the names will change.
Oh, all right, Roy Detrice.
As I go through this. One day she'll be Arya, one day she'll be Arya, and you will all just have to fucking learn to like it.
Look, I wouldn't have a problem with the name. Like, Daenerys, I hate, but it's also not a word for something else. But Arya is a word already.
So are a lot of things. Lots of things are words already.
That's what's going on a postcard. Lots of things are words already. What?
But am I wrong? Aren't lots of things already words? You know what? This is a quick sidebar. I had this conversation in my head with myself earlier today about how words are lots of other words, because I play this word scramble game on my phone, and sometimes the word that I need to guess, I will be like, that's not a word. One of them is Reno, Reno.
Okay.
I feel like that's not a word. I mean, it's a word because it's the name of a place, but is it just does it mean anything else?
I kind of thought it was like renovation, like shortened.
Well, see, that's
like
the
we're
other
doing
thing.
A reno.
Like, all right, so but that's also not a word, right?
So what you're saying is like just because it's a short for something doesn't mean that it's actually a word.
Exactly.
So you're being a prescriptivist.
It's a little bit, but only in relations to this very specific word game I play, where I get really like salty about it. Like about what words, because you have to guess what words you can make out of the letters. It's an anagram game. And
come back to the mic. You got really quiet there for a second.
It's a anagram game, so you get like it's like Boggle,
Gotcha.
And you get however many letters, and you have to make as many words as you can. And I'll get stuck trying to guess this last 4-letter word. And I'll just like, what the fuck could it be? And it turns out it's Reno. And I'm like, well, that's not a word. And I get really, really, indignant about it. But then I keep playing the game because that's just what I do.
I mean, I'm not mad at you for continuing to play the game. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, this is one of those things that I ran into always with Words with Friends also. Where there'd be shit that I was like, okay, listen, the fact that you don't consider this a word, that's offensive. Like, I'm offended. And words are just, what does anything mean?
I think that's where we end up. It always comes right back to that. Like, what does anything mean?
Every time you and I talk, I feel like it ends with one of us saying, whatever, we all die.
It's true,
like,
though.
What does anything mean? What's time? Who cares? What? No, nothing. Nothing means nothing. It's fine.
Nothing means anything at all. Let's just not be bothered about it. And yet, I managed to be
Welcome to Untitled.
managed to be perpetually bothered by everything.
Guys, God, you just said a word right there. I want to say that nothing matters, and then I will get very angry. Sean, why did you have to call me out like that?
I'm just saying. That's what I'm here. Is talking about words, girl. That's what I'm talking about. Just talking about words. It just. Let's get back to the book because we are both in a way.
Yeah, we are.
All
right. So yeah, these chapters. The first one is Arya, and it's the chapter where Ned gets his head cut off.
Yeah.
And it's fucking traumatizing.
Yeah, it is.
It's just upsetting to a degree I forgot.
It's so wild because it happens, but it happens almost like off stage, you know? Mm-hmm. It's a thing that's happening, and we all know it's happening. She knows it's happening, but she doesn't actually see it. And so because she doesn't actually see it, she can't describe what it looks like visually to us, the reader. But we get that, I love the way it's written. I don't love, that's a bad choice of words. The way it's written, where she says suddenly it was like the whole crowd sighed, you know?
Yeah.
And there was just this whoosh kind of noise she heard. And we all know what that was, without it being explicitly said. The whole build-up, too, because, you know, we all know where this is going. You know, we've read the books. I've seen the show. So this whole chapter of her having to basically fend for herself in the worst parts of King's Landing, you know.
Yeah.
And she's doing this sort of checking of each gate every day. And she sees that, you know, most of the gates are barred. They aren't even open. The ones that are, you can come in, but you can't get out.
You can check out anytime. But you can never leave.
Ma'am. That is one of, like, my least favorite songs of all time.
That's fair.
I don't
it's
know.
very sad in its way.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Eagles. Like, I should like them more than I do. Because they got a couple of bangers. But I just do not like them. I don't know what it is. I watched the Behind the Music ages ago on them. And there's so many hit songs. And the whole time I'm watching it, I was just mad. Like, I had an attitude the whole time it was on.
I love picturing you on your couch with your arms crossed and your, like, lips pressed together, like, think you're so great.
Steve kept being like, what is wrong with you? Because I kept making all these, like, harumph noises for no reason. I don't know what it is. But yeah.
I had a nightmare that featured that song.
Oh, God.
So it's kind of got a bad connotation for me now because it was like a genuinely upsetting dream and that song was playing in the background throughout the dream. It's like watching a horror movie where they use like a song, you know, in an upsetting scene and ever after you're just like, sort of like, you know that scene in Reservoir Dogs?
Oh.
Violence to the left and
yeah, I love that
Jokers
song.
to the right. I love that song, but man, I can't hear that without being like, ugh. It's just forever a little bit tainted.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
that's fair. Yeah, because that scene is pretty fucking gruesome.
Yeah.
Ugh, fucking Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, he needs counseling.
My God, what is his... separate podcast. Okay, bring it back around. Bring it back around. Because that is some onion. That's an onion with, like, lots of layers of all the things that are fucking wrong with Quentin Tarantino. But, so, we're watching Arya struggle on the streets. She has been robbed. She has to, like, run from lecherous old men. You know, she's practically starving, and
I really like the detail that she doesn't know exactly why she's like afraid, but she can just tell that the way they're looking at her something ain't right.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to describe it as a kid, because sometimes it's just this vibe that you're like, ooh, no good, but you don't really know what that was why you felt that way.
I love too the way that point is made is it's like first she says, you know, someone is staring at her and she understands exactly why they're staring. It makes sense, like they're looking at her shoes or something else. And then there's these other people that stare, and that one she doesn't know what the fuck it is, but she knows it's something. So we get to see that she recognizes the difference, that like she knows instinctually that there's a difference between the way these people are perceiving her and whatever their intentions might be. Yeah, that was really good.
I had forgotten just how dire shit is for her in this. Like, she's really Sansa would be dead. You know, and let's be honest, were Arya in Sansa's place, Arya would be dead.
It's true. It's true.
Flip that scenario. It's no good for either one of them. That's
such a good point. Because it's really easy to be real dismissive, like, oh, well, fucking Sansa would have never lasted, however long it's supposed to be. I'm not sure about how much time it's passed, but however long it's been, you could be like, oh, well, Sansa would have never. But you know what? Arya would have never, if it had been flipped. That's such a good point you made.
Yeah, Arya would have mouthed off. She would never have, like, agreed to... I mean, she's not going to marry Joff and has no interest in making peace in that way. And they would have either had her killed, like, publicly as another example, or they would have found a way to kill her.
Right.
And just have it be very quiet.
Yeah. I mean, Arya could never have, prostrated. Is that how you say that word? Prostrated herself? Like,
prostrated, yeah.
You know, like, knelt and begged Joffrey for mercy. You know, Arya's not doing that.
No, she's not about that kind of life.
Even though it turned out to be meaningless, you know, that Sansa did it because it didn't fucking matter in the long run. But yeah, Arya's not fucking pledging to him and begging his mercy and appealing to his better nature.
It didn't matter in the long run in that it didn't save her father's life, but I think it saved Sansa's life.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we see in this scene when Joff changes his mind, everybody around him does not approve of this. They all thought this was going to work out, and they were on board with the original plan. Mm-hmm. And so at least there is that to be said. Like, she clearly saved her own life, and she came close, if she weren't dealing with a literal psychopath, she came close to saving her dad's life through that.
That's true. I think I was thinking... about when she first requests, you know, mercy for her father, and everybody is just like, oh, you know, that's proof that she can't be trusted, and, you know, and Cersei being like, oh, Sansa, I thought I had explained to you better, and all this kind of stuff. But I think ultimately you're right, because based on their reaction to Joffrey deciding to take Ned's head, they really were expecting him to hold him hostage or send him to take the black or whatever the deal was to avoid the ramifications of killing him. So it makes it seem like their chastisement of Sansa was again just for show, like so much of everything else that we're seeing happen. You know, it was just for show. Like they wanted him to be spared as much as she did, even if it's just for different, more political reasons.
Right, yeah. And they have to make it seem like everybody, like, you know, it's part of the whole code of, like, running a gang, too. Is you can't tolerate people just doing whatever the fuck, so you have to figure out a way to make it clear they were about to die. Something circumstantially saved their life, but if I were to try that, I would definitely die.
Yeah.
Like, you want to make everybody feel as insecure about the whole thing as possible.
Yeah.
And by making her being like, well, you really disappoint me. I thought you understood. I feel like that accomplishes that.
Yeah.
Where, you know.
I think you might be right. So it really does remind anybody who's looking, like, don't fucking try this yourselves, you know. But we find out here that they all were under the impression that they could control this little boy. And apparently they just have not been paying attention to him for the last 12 or 13 years or however long he's been alive. It's like literally no one has met him before.
That's really it for me. It's just, you're all like brand new.
Yeah, like.
Where you been?
That's to my mind, that is the question of the hour. How are all of these people so ill prepared to reckon with what a King Joffrey means? You know, like even Cersei, I think it's hard to say because we haven't gotten that much of her, and no chapters from her point of view, right? So it seems like she is expecting to be able to run him in some manner.
Yeah, definitely.
And turns out that's not true. And I'm really curious, why did she think she was going to be able to? Was it an overestimation on her part of her, I don't want to call it skill, but like she overestimated how much control she has over him, or has she just literally doesn't know her child?
I think it's like a combo. I think she is in denial about her child because nobody wants to believe they raised a fucking monster.
Well, I'm just saying he's a monster, though, Cersei.
And I think also there's an aspect of like, I thought that we had a good enough relationship that me telling him this was an important thing to do would matter to him because he like respects me enough to believe when I say this needs to be done this way. And I think it's catching her off guard that he has his own ideas. Like he's got his own whole thing that he's interested in. And her plan is her plan. She thinks it's their plan.
Right.
Because it's for the good of the Lannisters.
Right.
But I don't think that he's like a team player. I don't think he's a team player.
He definitely is not a fucking team player. You do not want this motherfucker on your project. Like, if you have a group project in class, this guy is definitely showing up the day that shit is due and signing his name to the bottom of the paper like he was hoping. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Cersei is... I wonder how she feels when she has this moment of realizing, oh, this guy is just going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Do you think that she gets it?
I don't know. That's what I'm curious about. Like, I wonder if this moment for her is a clear indication of what exactly is in store, or if she, reconciles it with something else, like makes an excuse somehow, or lies to herself or to anyone who's listening about why what he decided to do made sense, even though we all know it didn't, Right,
yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So, yeah, she, like, we pretty much, like, talked, because, like, what happens in this is Arya on the streets, and, oh God, I just can't not follow that up with the freak in the sheets, and that's super inappropriate. Arya trying to survive on the streets, and then seeing her father's execution. But there's a couple of like small beats in there. There's the moment where she's trying to size up whether she could steal a tart from this guy. Yeah. And she does the whole, like, he told me to see with my eyes. And he fucking senses. Yeah. He looks at her and is like, oh, you think you can just take one of these? Yeah. Is that what's happening? Girl, look, there's cops right there. Yeah,
he picks up on that immediately, which I guess means she is not as stealthy as she needs to be at this early
well, you know what?
junction.
I think that I have, like, a mixed feeling on that, where I'm like, I think she's not as stealthy as she needs to be, but also I'm thinking that maybe Syrio Forel's lessons are just like the fucking School of Hard Knocks in Westeros, and she just didn't grow up that way, so she had to be taught like it was a class. But these people fucking
already know how to fucking do it. Oh, I love that.
So he's seeing with his eyes also, and it's just like, oh, this bitch is going to
try to rob me.
And then she walks away, and he goes, "You change your mind."
How did you know? I was just going to fucking bring that up. Oh, shit.
We've slowly begun just functioning off of 1.5
It's really oh my God. That's like the 5th time tonight that's happened in this one phone call. Ugh.
That's true. That's funny.
We also, when she is going with the crowd, because there's all these rumors too about what's happened to her father. Like the stories are, he poisoned the king, Renly poisoned the king, the queen poisoned the king, the hand is already dead. No, they're going to kill him today. Like, it's just fucking...
I really loved that. The whole like, oh, this guy killed him. No, that guy killed him. No, it was actually Varys with poison. It's all very Clue.
It is though. It's such a like, I don't know what the tabloid situation is like in Westeros, but it just feels very much like a gossip blog or something,
Yes. Oh, I forgot about Gossip.
Girl.
Hold on. I'm about to go check and see if I'm following them on Facebook.
Their
anymore.
headlines are still undefeated. It is like I don't even read the whole articles anymore. I just go for the headline.
What was that headline about the guy who's banging the English teacher looking Laura Dern? Do you remember that?
No.
Is so-and-so beard deep in English teacher looking Laura Dern? Was like the fucking headline.
Beard deep.
Yeah, it was like they
my God.
really fucking went for
Fucking
it.
Bossip never change. Guys, if you are not familiar with Bossip, that's BOSSIP, as in black gossip. You're going to want to go check that out.
Here it is. Oh my God, it's even better than I thought. Bossip, under swirl, has Baron Davis been burrowing his beard into language arts teacher-looking Laura Dern? Has he been burrowing his beard?
Language arts teacher. That's so
They never said
specific.
a word of cursing or swearing. That was obscene. Never speak to me or my son again. That is just... I'll never forget this headline. I don't remember it exactly. I gotta make it. I gotta put it in my brain to take out here and there, so that I don't have to Google it every time. Anyway, so yeah, as we were saying, lots of gossip around what happened, and everybody seems pretty convinced that her dad is guilty. Like, there's a lot of, did he kill him or did somebody else kill him? But nobody seems to be like, oh, I think he's innocent.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like... I love that at one point, some random person is like, it was Renly, and some other guy was like, fuck, it was. He's great. What are you talking about?
Right? He's a good and honorable man. How dare you, you slut.
And
These dudes just be throwing around sluts.
I was reading it like, I was really surprised that he had that kind of like, that vehement level of support from these people that live in a place called Flea Bottom. Like, I just didn't expect them to, be so passionate about it.
I mean, look at how we all are with the Royals.
I was going to say it sounds like they're talking about their favorite sports team. Which, you know what? In a way, when you are poor and lowly and barely getting by and like fucking dealing with the realities of being poor and on the low end of practically everything, you're right. We do look up like our royals and celebrities and sports teams, and we become strangely invested in one versus the other, and kind of become weirdly defensive,
Yeah. Do you know what my favorite example of this is? Is fucking Jennifer Aniston.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that whole thing?
The whole thing of her, like in general, or something specific?
Just her breakup with Brad, and the fact that it was like in favor of Angelina, and so Angelina just became a Scarlet Woman forever.
Oh yeah,
and Jennifer Aniston permanently was the single woman who just can't find love.
Yeah,
the poor thing.
She was the wronged good girl, America's girl next door. Who was wronged by this vixen. And
people, it's been like decades since that happened, and I am still seeing shit about Jennifer Aniston. Is it true love this time on the fucking front page of shit?
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's like 50-something.
And does not give a shit.
It really, from best I can tell, she doesn't really give it. I mean,
No.
She did get Justin Theroux.
Wait.
They were married. They're divorced now, but they were married.
Wait.
Oh, girl,
What?
yeah.
I feel like I found this out on the air another time.
I probably came up doing leftovers.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, they're already divorced again. But yeah.
Good on you, girl, though, for a minute.
I mean, listen. Let me have a minute or two.
Lock the dick down for just a few years, and then you're just done, and all right. I'll release you back into the wild like a fish.
Make him sign that prenup.
Oof.
But the folks in town in Flea Bottom, they all have like their stories they believe and the stories they don't believe, and it's when the bells start to ring, there's all this confusion about what exactly it means, and we hear through Arya people be like, oh no, it's a summoning bell. Somebody thinks that the king is dead. They're like, the king is already dead. Where you been? But it is to draw everyone to where are they? The Great Sept?
The Great Sept, yeah.
Right? And she is in the crowd and she kind of gets moved along. And I'm not sure, but I think as the crowd is moving, the crowd is somehow aware of like what's going down before they really get there. Yeah.
I think that it's just sort of like an assumption based on the fact that everybody thinks he's guilty. And a summon bell, like, what else could it be?
Right.
I think it's just that.
So, she gets there, and it's just, a mass of people. And she's, like, underfoot. At one point, right before they all start going, she almost gets run over by this carriage carrying these two boys that they get, like, shaded from what I can tell, like, for no good reason. They're just...
Those are, what's his face's sons?
Are those...
That we saw when he got knighted, the head of the Gold Cloaks now.
That's the Redwind twins? I thought his name was something different.
No, Janos Slint.
No, I'm talking about the Redwind twins.
Oh, I thought those were Janos Slint's sons. Oh, I had it all wrong.
Yeah,
Horror and Slobber?
Yeah. Because she's talking about how Sansa and Jane used to make fun of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it mixed up. My bad.
But what are the Redwinds?
You could probably check your fucking awesome
girl
glossary back there and find out.
Hop back real quick. Let's see. All right, I won't take up too much time. Let's see.
But Austin also sent me some notes.
So okay. Let you look at those while I look at these.
I got to copy paste it into a new doc because it's too small for me to read. I'm so old, you guys. Holy shit.
Ma'am. Oh, no, the Redwinds aren't in the appendix.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they're in the notes. Just give me 1 second.
There's a Theon chapter at the back of the book. That must be from the next book.
Let's see. Even in King's Landing, the rumors surrounding Robert's death are so wildly distorted, it's kind of a miracle that any part of the truth reached the Starks at Winterfell, is the top of the notes. Let's see. Peter Baelish, Janos Slint, and Ilyn Payne are the only people in the steps of the Great Sept who don't completely lose it when Joffrey calls for Ned's death. Noted. Oh, shit. I didn't notice that Sir Ilyn used ice to kill Ned.
Yeah, she says it, too.
Oh, that's fucked up. I forgot.
Yeah, Arya says she recognizes the sword when it's happening. Yeah.
That's fucked up. Shit, I did not remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't say. But I don't think they're super important right now. If anybody wants to get at us in the comments and let Rashawn know all the information that she needs to know, please let her. Just, picture group, tag her, whatever.
So they almost run her over, and she gets hurt pretty, she fucks up her finger and skins her knee real bad. And this is when she kind of gets caught up in the crowd, and people are just saying, to themselves, oh, they're taking him to the Sept. Oh, I thought he was already dead. Nope, they said they were going to take his head off this time. And Arya is, like, hearing this and wants to, like, yell out, these are lies, he didn't do that. But no one can hear her. She realizes no one's going to listen to her, and kind of the words keep getting sort of stuck in her throat.
And she will give herself away. If she just doesn't want to draw attention to herself.
It says at one point, she struggled to find a voice. She started, but she was only a child, and they talked right over her. So she gets swept up, and she sees her father between two gold cloaks, and she sees that he does not look well. He can't stand, his leg is so all fucked up.
Yeah, she describes the the cast as gray and rotting.
Mm-hmm. Which,
yikes.
Yeah, the infection must be something crazy.
Yeah.
She sees Sansa, who looks beautiful in her gown. She's wearing like the sky blue gown, and there is, I feel like it leaps off the page how angry Arya is to see her sister up there.
Yeah, definitely.
And she notices the rest. Cersei's there, and Joffrey's there. And her father comes out, and he starts to confess. And the crowd is just like, oh, we can't hear him. Make him talk louder.
I'm sorry if you guys can hear this.
I can hear the dog
howling. I don't know what's happened. We've had some coyotes around, like packs of them. Ooh. And I'm like, is there a fight happening? What's going on? But anyway, maybe they're just mourning the Starks.
Oh,
all the same family.
Right. Listen, I see what you did there. And Ned comes out and he confesses to conspiring to, steal the throne from Robert's heirs. And
they start chucking rocks.
Yeah. It's just it doesn't take a lot, for us to just reach our worst points, our base instincts. We just devolve into that shit so easily. Especially if you are, it's like the thing, again, like going back to being poor and lowly people, who have these strange allegiances, how quickly we turn on them as well.
Yep.
And the opportunity to sit in righteous judgment over Lord Ned Stark, who is apparently a traitor, and now just some poor guy who works in Flea Bottom can throw a rock at his head with impunity. Like, you couldn't do that a day ago, but now I can, and the weird sort of reversal of power and how quick people are to act on it, a week ago, Ned Stark rolling through Flea Bottom, they all would have had to get out the way, and now they can just chuck shit at his head.
That's a good point. I didn't really think about that aspect of it, but I would be lying if I was not gonna feel a little bit of a way.
Yeah,
And the inequality in this place is not that far off from ours, so it's like if Jeff Bezos suddenly got dragged out, I'd be like, good, cut his head off. How do I care? Fuck that guy.
It's so true.
I choose violence.
I would want him dragged through the fucking streets. I really would. I would be here to see it. I absolutely would. So, Euron is in the crowd, and the height of all of this awfulness snatches Arya and turns her head away and forces her to look at him, not to look at what's happening on the steps. And it takes her a minute to recognize him, but then she does. And
he keeps being like, boy, boy,
right?
do you, boy? Kind of trying to get her to fucking
and it's
clue in here.
It's like at this exact moment, I don't know how important it is for her to understand she needs to pretend to be a boy. I feel like that could have waited 2 beats, until at least her father's head was done rolling.
I do understand that, yes. People aren't exactly zeroed in on her right now.
You know what I mean? But this whole, boy thing. But it's fine. I forgive him because I know, that he's doing a mitzvah here. He's doing a good thing here. So, and she just kind of hears what she says, a noise, and it's in italics, a soft sighing sound. And that's it. That's the moment.
I kind of liked that as an alternative to having to see the scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's very elegant, just there's no mistaking what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
But also, there's no description of any kind, even a second hand, looking at rolling around from a fucking bystander,
Yeah. And I was curious, I don't know if the book is going to give us a Sansa chapter before it ends. So I don't know if we're going to re-see this scene through her eyes. I hope not. I really would rather not. I feel like this chapter has done a fine job of it, and I don't need to like see it again. But I was thinking as I was reading this, like, I wonder if we're going to go to Sansa's perspective of this event and see it from her eyes, because I feel like if it's told from a Sansa perspective, it's going to be, I mean, she was right there. It's going to be like way more graphic than I really feel like I need to read. So I am kind of hoping that is not a thing. And nothing against like Sansa, her having a chapter, but just for those very specific reasons.
I feel you. Yeah. I do want to mention too, there's a section that we didn't talk about, but Arya, like, we mentioned how she's trying to get out and everything is being searched. They're stopping everybody going out, all the different gates. And at one point, she finds the boat that her father had brought to take her home.
That's right.
And for a second, I thought, like, oh my God, if they're still there, why didn't she just get on? And then it's made really clear very quickly that these are not her dad's people. And likely, this is a trap for this very reason. That they are hoping she's going to be stupid enough to try and just hop the boat and be like, let's go home, everybody. Yeah. And then they will catch her.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? That plan should have worked. When you think about... When you think
catching her?
Yeah, when you think about the fact that we're dealing with like an 8-year-old little girl. That
true.
plan should have worked. But she is just much smarter than anyone expected her to be. And it is showing an ability to think in such a mature way. Because honestly, if I was her at her age, I'd have been like, "Oh yeah, that's my ride home."
Oh, thank God you guys are here.
Especially when you counter that against what her experience has been these last however many days or weeks it's been, living on the street, catching fucking pigeons, begging for food, running from lecherous old men. Stumbling on your escape route. I'd have been captured so fast because my ass would have ran right up there yelling at the top of my lungs who I was, who had family I belonged to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have too. I wonder if I would have been more like a Sansa. I don't think so though. I don't know. It's weird because like as a kid, I did learn how to like negotiate adults and worry about them first pretty young. So maybe I would have been able to do a Sansa just with a very different motivation behind it because she's all about just like sincerely believing this bullshit. And I don't know that I would have gone down that road, but I think I maybe would have understood how important it was to play along. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure which way I would have gone. It's hard for me to think about it in a way that makes sense. I think there is a big part of me that was used to being in a position of having to negotiate for the best turnout for the adults in my life. So being put in Sansa's position of having a feeling like she's the only one that could help her father. And that was her burden that they put on her, like you have to make your father confess and all that. That feels very familiar to me. The believing in the sincerity and the genuineness of the Cersei's and Joffrey's and whoever else, that part feels alien to me.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling also when I think about it. I'm like, I don't think I would have gone as far as all that.
Yeah, I don't think I would have trusted any of those people because I'm just distrustful as fuck by nature. Especially when you talk about it, shady ass adults that are, wholly unreliable. But yeah, so that chapter ends with Yoren telling her, for like 8 times, you're a boy now. And, cutting her
knife at her face.
Yeah, like cutting her hair in a really aggressive manner.
Yeah.
With no warning. And it looks to be like it's kind of painful.
Well, yeah, it doesn't it's not even made clear that's what's happening. I feel like we know that now, but if you were reading this the first time, it's just that he comes at her with a knife while he's grabbing her by the hair.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be like, oh my God, is he attacking her? Like, what is he doing?
I guess so.
I don't know.
The part where he says, he had her by the hair, she could feel her scalp tearing, which I guess really could be anything if he's just got a knot of her hair in his hand and he's wrenching her, her neck backwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you might be right. I am just filling in those blanks because I know that's what's happening here.
But, yeah, that's the beginning of Arya's new journey.
Yeah.
So that'll be really fun, I'm sure, to come back to. So then we go to Bran. Bran's dreaming. He does a lot of it.
Yep.
And he had a dream that his father was waiting for him down in the crypts. And he is trying to get Maester Aemon to... really, it's not even trying to believe him. It's like, I just would like for you to listen and act like you're listening.
Yeah, Bran wants to go down to the crypts because of this dream he had where he saw his father. And him and Maester Luwin are watching these really pitiful young men that are not impressing anybody.
Oh, I forgot about this.
They're because all the air quotes good men are gone. They left with Ned and then they left with Robb, and all that is left are a bunch of little kids that can't even fight. So they're trying to raise up, a new guard or whatever. And they're watching that and they are unimpressed. And one of the things Bran says is that he wishes that he were able to still fight.
Yeah.
And then he tells him that, maybe if he had a poleaxe, he could just ride around on Hodor.
Sir. And he says something about how he almost gave Hodor a smack because he wasn't going the right way. He wouldn't go down the crypt.
Right.
And thankfully, Aemon is like, dude, he's a person. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're forgetting that or what, but fucking no, please. Thanks, Aemon. Appreciate you.
Yeah, nice to remind Bran, that this is a whole ass person that he's riding around on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he wants to go down to the crypts because of the dream he's had, and Hodor won't take him down there. And Osha is lurking about. I forget why she's there. But they end up having her carry Bran downstairs.
I don't think she's lurking. I think that Maester Aemon's just all right, you want to go down? Let's go down there. And he just has to find somebody, so he calls her up.
Oh, okay.
She's not doing anything.
So they go down there, and Bran is talking about the stream, and like you said, Luwin is just not here for it. He's barely fucking listening. It's just a dream. It doesn't matter. And Bran is trying to explain, he's having all kinds of dreams, actually. For instance, he keeps dreaming about this three-eyed bird. And it's so frustrating, you guys, knowing what we all know, to see him be so dismissive and uninterested in what Bran is telling him.
Yep.
Indeed. It's not his fault. I don't think... Is it reasonable?
Is there a fight breaking out back there?
Oh
What's
my
going
God,
on?
that's the TV. Living room, sorry.
Oh, the TV. I thought it was the drive-thru.
No.
People were fighting at the drive-thru again.
That's just for Friday and Saturday night. So yeah, but I don't want to make it sound like I think it's unreasonable that that he is not giving his full attention to Bran in these dreams, right? Like, it's It sounds like from this chapter and the conversations that they end up having about a couple different things, it sounds very much like Master Lewin is just like, I am a man of science.
Yes,
you
for
know,
sure.
Keep your tall tales. So
I don't know why I found that so funny. Tall tales, indeed.
So, you know, I don't think it's fair to be as frustrated as it turns out I am by his complete lack of interest in anything that Bran is saying.
I think that's what got to me, was the complete lack of interest. It's not even just like, I don't believe that this is significant. It's like he's barely paying attention, really, until, like, Bran says, oh, yeah, and I almost smacked Hodor upside the head. And then he tunes in. And he's like, bitch, what did you just say? But otherwise, it's very like, I'm busy. It's like a kid being like, Mom, look. Yeah. Mom, look. Yeah. Mom, look. And she's like, I am in the middle of dinner. Stop it. Yeah. That's his vibe.
I like, there's a moment at some point where Osha has to be like, I thought Bran was in charge.
I forgot about that. Seems to me he's the Lordling. So I hear you, and I
appreciate what you're saying.
But who cares? Bye.
Right? She was like, basically like, you don't sign my checks, though.
Oh, that is what she was like.
So, let me think. So they go down to the crypts finally, and there's a whole long history lesson. There are a lot of Starks in those crypts, y'all.
Yeah.
They all have stories. Bran knows them all, and he's sharing them, and some of them are pretty interesting. There's the one that they call it Shipwright because he liked the sea so much, and I guess he left and he never came home. Yeah. And then his son was so upset about that he ended up burning all the ships, and that's where his name came from.
But women are too emotional.
Right? Oh, God, that's a whole other thing. We find out about Bear Island makes a appearance here in the Mormonts, which you guys know I'm already ready for them. I'm so excited about the potential that lies in that. I hope I'm not disappointed. And we go right through to his grandfather, Rickard, and him being killed by the Mad King. And then a weird thing happens that I didn't know it was happening until it was clearly explained after the fact. Rickon is down there already with his wolf. His wolf is Shaggy Dog.
Shaggy Dog.
What that is? You know what? But he's like 4 years old. It's fine.
I mean, Bran comments personally on what a stupid name that is.
Yeah, and I feel like I agreed with him at the time. And I probably shouldn't have, because this is a baby. This is an actual baby naming this wolf. And we should probably be nicer about it.
Well, I think you are all correct. And I don't see the problem. You need to have a standard. That's all I'm saying.
So he's already down there, and his wolf jumps out and bites the fuck out of Maester Lewin, which, you know what, I feel like I should have felt worse. He's fine, though. It's not like an injury that's going to murder. He's not going to die. He's fine. He's going to heal just fine.
I mean, he's an old man, but I'm sure you're right.
I mean, he was being like, I didn't appreciate his attitude a couple pages
Agreed.
ago.
No, I'm not, yeah.
And somehow this just felt right. I was like, oh, okay, there it is, justice.
I can't help but wonder, we don't really get that from Bran, but there is a part of me that's like, Bran was a little bit smug about that shit too.
Right? I feel it's implied. We don't get it, in great detail, but I feel like it's all there, subtext. But Rickon has had the same dream. And that's why he's down in the crypts. He also had a dream of Ned. And for me, this is like, oh, it puts everything in a whole new light. But I guess that's just me.
It does seem like it shakes him. You know?
Who?
What's happening?
Which him? Which who?
Llewyn.
Oh, okay.
After the bite and everything, and things are beginning to, like, calm down again, Rickon says, or he says, like, father was down here. And Bran is like, you saw it in your dream? And that's when you see Llewyn start to be like, what the fuck? But it's, he still isn't giving it credence, really.
Yeah, he says, she's like, Osha is tending to his wounds. And he says, this is folly. And he says, I agree that it's odd that you both had the dream. But when you stop to consider the circumstances, it's natural. You're both scared. Your father has been, taken prisoner, and you're both full of fear, and fear can create these, play these tricks on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts saying how Rickon is too young to even comprehend what's going on. And he's like, I'm 4. And I said, aw.
I love later when they're parceling out like dragon glass. I want 4. I'm 4. I don't know why that fucking got me so bad. 4 is my number. I want 4 always, everything.
That is really how they are, though. I mean, have you met a 4-year-old? This is exactly how they are.
Well, like, anybody, when we are told a thing is ours, we get, like, super into and protective of it. Just ask any Harry Potter
it is really
about our
true.
house. Like, it's just a lot. And there's no, it's not real. It's nothing. But we get very fucking tense about it.
It's true. It really is
Talk about,
true.
like, what's your lucky number? And people don't all want to have, like, they don't want to even admit they share a lucky number with somebody else.
Like,
There's only so many numbers, my friend. That's happening.
That's mine. That's my lucky number.
A little bit,
What do you mean your lucky number is 7? That's my lucky number.
That was what I was going to say. In school one time, our teacher asked us, what are your guys' lucky numbers? And several people said 7. And they all looked at each other in horror. Like, they all were just so embarrassed to have said the same number as somebody else. And I remember at the time, like, I found it really funny, but I didn't really get why. I was just kind of like, why are they so upset about it? And now I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening there. We just get very possessive of shit because we want an identity.
Absolutely true. Yeah, we get possessive of the things that we think builds our identity. Because who are we without those things? Turns out, not a lot. And we are deeply uncomfortable
not much
with that.
Those things. So
listen, it's true.
I don't mean to get so real on y'all, but let's be honest.
God, Jesus
not
Christ.
A lot on that resume.
Take my fucking Harry Potter house for me, and I got like nothing else to talk about. It really is.
That's what. There's been a lot of shit circulating where it's like, name something you know I like, and I don't share that shit because I know it's going to be like, you like planners. You like lipstick. You like talking. And I'm just like, oh man, this is my brand. And I'm like, part of me is okay with it. And another part of me is like, I don't get a do-over. I would like to be somebody who likes something fucking interesting, man. Planners. Jesus Christ.
Listen, it can be worse. You can get really excited about an appendix in the back of a book. So, count your blessings, Missy.
Likes appendices, dislikes humanity.
Oh, fuck. How did it come to this? Jesus Christ. So they are tending to his wounds, and Osha starts to she's bringing a little bit of that north of the wall energy. Every time Llewyn is like, oh, well, those are just the stuff of, tales. She's like, no, I thought I saw some, like just like a little.
She just keeps being down here. That might be how you do it, but
You know, I kept wanting her to be like, of the four of us, I'm the only one that's ever been that far north. Maybe you should, like, you know, listen to what I have to say. But yeah, she keeps, you know, getting in these little bits about how the things that the people in the north, which for her is the south, have all decided aren't real anymore. That shit is still very real where she's from. And that sounded like really gangster for a second, like where she's from.
I just keep thinking about like me moving down here from like Philly.
Oh my God.
And just being like, oh, that's how you do it here? Oh, that's what you think here? Oh, is that what weather's cold to you here? I'm fucking like... Honestly, though, we all do that. We can't move to a new place without just being like, oh, I guess that's fine.
Every place I have ever moved, I take that same shitty attitude with me. And I always am like, I'm not going to do it this time. And then I do it every time.
Can't. The one thing that I've tried to stop saying is, you think this is cold? I really hate myself. Because that pops out of my mouth. It still happens. But there's like, what are you trying to prove? What are you doing? What is the point?
But the thing is, it's not really that cold, though.
It's not.
And you feel like you need to let somebody
we had that
know.
time where there was no power and people literally froze to death, but we all know that was an anomaly and that's not what we're talking about. But they will, like, Owen and I will say we're going to the Arboretum and they're like, are you sure it's going to be like 50 that day? And I'm like, what? That's not even cold enough for me to wear my new awesome coat that I bought for the winter that doesn't happen. I'm so pissed still. I went into such, like, I put so much work into finding this perfect winter coat, and I don't get to wear that shit but, like, twice a year. And it's got this, like, faux fur collar, and it's white.
Just think when you move back up here.
Knee length.
Then you can wear it.
That shit still fits. We'll see. Anyway.
So they, I think Bran is like, I want to hear about the children. It's important. And I want to hear everything. And we get this really neat little history. I guess it's mostly mythology, right? It sounds like it's not really considered to be like really, really true.
Yeah.
But, and it is the tale of what it was like before they were men. Mm-hmm. And the children are described as being dark and beautiful and small of stature. Mm-hmm. And I don't, okay. If I remember correctly on the show, they were just mostly green.
Yeah, this was part of our... The part of the beginning of the end of, like, what are they doing? when the children show up and then we're just like, this is weird. No.
They look like they just, I don't know, they look, were they tree people? It was like they decided to make them tree people, which I get, they were like children of the forest, but I feel like the show went a little too literal.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. They make a lot of fucking choices, that's all. That's
a good way. They made some choices.
They made their choices.
But this history is I don't know. I like it. I like this. There was a time before men, and then men came, and then there were great wars, and then eventually a pact was made, and it was agreed that the men could have the coast and the mountains and so on, and the children would stay deep in the forest. And there was an agreement to no longer cut down the trees, which were very important, and they would draw the faces on, and which are the weirwood trees that the Starks go out to, like, pray at, right? Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And
the godswood.
The godswood, thank you. I could not think of that. And then eventually more men came. That sounds like, I don't mean Mormon. I mean more men. Additional men came.
I really did hear it that way, though. So I know it's stupid, but I appreciate you clearing that up. Because for a second I was like, Mormon? Is that the name of somebody? Because there's Mormonts. I was like, the Mormonts? Is that who it was? I didn't remember that.
No.
Older than I thought.
But additional men came, which is always the fucking way. Which is why you gotta nip that man shit in the bud the first time they show up. You gotta nip that shit in the bud because there will always be more of them coming. But some more came, and the Andals are the ones that they talk about, and that is when all that shit kind of went to pot. The pack, you know, the children living in the forest. And the Andals, I'm not 100% sure who they are exactly in relation to what we know of the people in Westeros. Like, the Andals are they who the Starks are descended from? That doesn't feel right.
I think he says that, yeah.
The Andals?
It's part of, like, King of the Andals and Son of the First Men. What's the whole fucking title?
Girl, you know I don't know. But I know what you mean, though.
One?
Like, but they come, there's a war, and I'm trying to read real quick.
I'm trying to find Joffrey Baratheon's full title. Let's see.
Oh, let me go to my handy dandy.
You got the Game of Thrones wiki.
I'm going to go to my appendix while you look at that.
Here it is. Joffrey of Houses Baratheon and Lannister. You gotta get your book. How is the book closer to the mic than you are? I hear that shit more clearly.
Sorry. It's because I can't fucking see nothing, so this shit is right up in my face. All right, so you go first.
It's Joffrey of Houses Baratheon and Lannister, the first of his name, King of the Andals and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. Okay. So it just says King of the Andals and the First Men. Right. I was like assuming that the Starks are in here. Let's see if Austin sheds any light on this. It says in the appendix here that the Starks trace their descent from Brandon the Builder and the ancient kings of Winter. For thousands of years, they ruled from Winterfell as kings in the north until Turin Stark, the king who knelt, chose to swear fealty to Aegon the Dragon rather than give battle. So, and then in the story that Lewin is telling, he says the first men had the pack. And then, after the long night, the Andals came, and their war lasted hundreds of years, but at the end, everything fell before them. So the First Men, and then the Andals, and then what we know of now as, like, I guess, the Seven Kingdoms. Made by the Targaryens.
He gets interrupted when he's talking about what the Andals did, because he's saying the children fled north, and then summer starts to howl, and he stops his story, because this is when the fucking raven comes.
Okay. So, yeah, it sort of, like, makes me think about the populating of North America, you know, and that there was probably, like, an original people that was maybe different than Homo sapiens. Mm-hmm. And then there is supposed to be the crew that came over the Bering Strait and kind of established the Native American population that we know now. Mm-hmm. And then there were the colonizers. Mm. But, you know, very roughly. Yeah. It sounds sort of like the same sort of way we explain, you know, our own evolution, you know, and our own, like, origin myths, whether you believe, you know, whatever particular myth you choose to hold, you know, believe, whether it is, you know, like a... You're trying a lot with that language you there. You know, like, I didn't want to say, like, you know, I didn't want whatever you choose to believe is fine. That's a choice. I was trying to be diplomatic and respectful of people's choices and belief systems. Oh my God, it's so funny. I have to tell you that when we get done recording. What? I can't tell you on air. Oh, everybody is screaming at you. Sorry, right guys.
Sorry.
I get to know. I get to know.
But yeah, so they get interrupted. This history lesson gets interrupted by the arrival of a raven, and everybody knows what this is.
Yeah.
Immediately.
There's something about how much, like, Osha takes it for granted. Because I think maybe Rickon or Bran says, like, what is that? And she just says, you know what it is.
She sure does. She sure does.
And she's so, like, laid back about it. Like, yeah, you had a dream that told you, you know.
Exactly. I actually, like, it's horrible news, right? I'm not, like, I don't mean to be like, oh, well, she's so fucking lackadaisical about it, like it's no big deal. But it's kind of being like, trust what you learned, what you dreamt. Like, trust you know what this is, not like in a like a gross dismissive way, but like, because the whole chapter is Bran knowing something and being confronted by someone who is in a higher position than him, a more learned position than him, you know, all that shit, telling him you're being ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You know, your dream meant nothing. Your gut is telling you wrong. Don't trust how you feel. Don't trust what you saw. Don't trust what you know, you know, because doesn't make sense. And then she is just very quietly like, no, you do know. You know. Yeah. And, I wish it was different. I wish he didn't know. I wish it was different news.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's it.
You know, but it's a really important little moment. Also, the thing about the when she's like, you know, you don't sign my checks, though. That's because the kids, they want to go up to his tower. And he's like, nah. And then that's when she's like, I think he's in charge here. And so that's why they're all there when the Raven comes. Otherwise, he would have just been in there by himself. But they're all like in his little apparently very cluttered tower.
I love that. Bran comes in and is like, dude.
You live like this? And I let you tell me how to do my shit? This is how you live?
There is nothing like that moment as a kid. Where you suddenly realize that, like, this person does not have it together. No, and I'm not here listening to them. Oh, my God. Like, still have that as an adult, but it hits different when you're a kid.
When you're a little kid and you, like, run into a teacher outside of school. Have you ever had that happen?
Oh, yeah. And you're like, you definitely live in the file cabinet. What are you doing out?
You're just like...
Is that left your cage open?
Is that an 82 Corolla? Like, what?
Oh, honey, that top.
Oh, I'll never forget. When I was in 8th grade, I forget his name, but I had a really stereotypical teacher. It was like he, you know, jumped off the page fully formed, you know. He was a divorced, you know, balding, late 40, early 50s, miserable, regretted all of his life choices, and lived in like a 3rd floor walk-up apartment around the corner from where I lived. And I would see him sometimes like outside of school because he was my neighbor. And he just was the worst. Like, he wasn't a bad teacher and he wasn't a bad guy, but he was so miserable. And, you know, like, I would see him in class, and then it would feel weird because I'd be like, I saw you with the laundromat. You know, like, you can't tell me what chapters to read. It was such a weird thing.
Damn. Cold-blooded. I saw that you have to wash your clothes.
Right, you know.
You creep.
Your underwear is gray. You can't tell me what to do. Oh, that's a shame.
I wonder if he could feel that happening.
Oh my God.
Do you think that he had like moments where he was like, oh, these kids, they saw me at the laundromat.
Absolutely. He was like a man that was like, well on his way into giving up on just practically everything that he had ever hoped and dreamed for his life. It was a really sad state of affairs.
Oh my God, I really feel for this guy.
I cannot remember his name. I'll have to ask a friend of mine if she remembers his name. Oh man. But anyway.
So yeah, that is the end of that chapter. It's just Eamon being like, I guess we're gonna have to carve a thing, because like the whole thing down in the crypt was, we saw our dad here, and him continuously being like, we're not gonna have to make a crypt for him or a stone or statue for him in a long time.
Yep.
And
here we are.
They just,
I like, there's a moment too when they're down there where someone mentions how only certain people were supposed to get their likeness made, but Ned had one made for both Leanna and his brother, or maybe it was just her. I forget.
No, I think both of them. Yeah.
But and that kind of like went against the rules. And it's not. I don't think that's an important plot point. Maybe it is, but I just thought it was. I just thought it was sweet and kind of maybe also. I don't know. It has something to do with the guilt that Ned feels around all that, and how all that went down.
Also, I forgot to mention, but Austin mentions it in these notes. Thank you, Austin. The talk of the green seers, which I had forgotten about, but they are like part of the whole thing with the children of the forest. And there's a mention of this place called the Isle of Faces.
Oh, right.
That's an island in a lake that's called the God's Eye, I think. And that was where they had their like summit. Right. And made their deal. And it's called Isle of Faces because every single tree they agreed to putting a face on it, because they had previously been defacing the trees that had, I feel like I'm saying face a lot. They previously had been cutting down the trees that had faces carved in them already. So part of the deal was like, oh, we'll restore that by carving a ton of them here, which like is kind of funny because like if they're meant to be gods or if they're meant to be like a way to see, they're just all looking at each other, and that just doesn't feel super like effective. Don't you want them spread out as far as possible so that they can all be in like, you know, like Wi-Fi? You know what I mean? I can't ask you anything today. You're just giggling too much.
It's. I mean, I'm thinking about fucking Wi-Fi. Like, if the idea is, I don't know about this little island, because that seems like, you know, if they're all the trees are just on this little island, then that's not helping really anybody do anything. But before they were relegated to this little area, when they were everywhere, then it must have been, you just sort of pass that information along down the, sort of the information highway of sorts.
Yeah, I guess.
And that was one of the things too that forced the war, was that they came in, the first men, and started like cutting all the trees down and using them to build shit and start fires and just being wildly disrespectful. Also, when we made the joke about Ricka and being like, I want 4 pieces, but it's dragon glass. That they fight with. And, that doesn't mean anything to us now, but we all know that shit comes back. So, I'm just going to make sure, I just want to say it out loud so y'all don't think we missed it.
These children of the forest know something. That's a very particular type of weapon that is not super convenient, I'm sure. Right.
And he mentions, too, when he's telling the story, this makes me think, Lewin is telling us this story as probably was told to him and is written and whatever.
Oh my God, I just realized I've been calling him Maester Aemon this whole time, and people are probably going to write to me about it. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
Whoops.
Lewin, that's the one.
But he's telling only what he knows and what he's been told, right?
Right.
So just because he's laying the story to us this way doesn't mean this is exactly how it happened.
Totally,
you know?
yeah.
So I cannot make heads or tails of the children in the TV show. It was all done in such a way that it really was mostly just about special effects as far as I can recall.
Definitely.
So
I was disgusted.
So I'm looking forward to if it is something that's fleshed out more in the books. And that I'm assuming that this thing with Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven and the children are much more impactful in the book. And that there's much more going on there than the show was able to relate to me and just like couldn't get its hands around in the time that they had for the show. So I'm hopeful that will be much more enjoyable in book form. So
I also am hopeful of that. I feel like there was another thing that I wanted to mention as being a little bit different from the book, but I think that I'm just thinking of the fact that we're approaching now the point where it begins to really diverge.
Already?
Because we're almost at the end of this book. And really the first book is the one that they follow the closest with the first season. And after that, it's not like there's major differences necessarily that I can recall, but it's just not quite the same beat for beat storytelling the way that the show has been, really. For better or worse, you decide. So, all right, let's say hi to new patrons. This week, we have got Shelby Whitehead, Nancy H., and Mari Runtescola. I like to try and say it more than one way so that hopefully I hit it somehow. Give it a shot. But welcome to all of you. Thank you very, very much for becoming patrons. I hope that y'all are enjoying. Miles and I did a live read today of the penultimate chapters of Mistborn Well of Ascension. And it's really wild whenever I'm like interacting with somebody on camera and I sort of lose track of the fact that I'm on camera because I get absorbed. I'll like see in the chat suddenly everybody laughing at a face I'm making, and then my eyes will go up to like my face, and I'm like, oh god, oh yeah, wow, I really just showed everything I felt, and it's alarming because I like don't want to necessarily always show what I feel, and apparently my face is a lot more expressive than I'm always aware of. So. That was fun, though. It was the live read. There's one more section, and he is insisting on live reading that also. So there's just something that's going to fucking happen at the end of this book, and he is so gleeful about it. And Miles doesn't get like that, you know? So I'm like super curious.
That springs to my mind when I'm thinking about our friend Miles.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm here for it. So that's exciting.
Yeah. If you're a patron, you like get to come and actually attend the live watch and chat with us while he reads me the chapters. And I occasionally interject with commentary and or laugh at him when he fucks up, because that happens a lot. Can't help it. I don't know if y'all have tried reading aloud recently from like an adult novel, but it's really hard. The live reads I did with you, like, that shit's not easy. Especially if you're trying to, like, maybe do a bit of a voice here and there, you know? So anyway.
So you laugh at him when he stumbles? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, very much. Yeah, I enjoy that part. That's, like, one of my favorite parts is when he messes up and I can laugh at him. Especially when he laughs up and it sounds like he said something else. It's not just like he like stumbles over a word, but he'll be like, she kicked her, and I'm like,
why are you like this?
Anyway, and the other thing for patrons is that Rashawn and I are going to be doing this weekend the Unsober episode is going to be about the card game Puff Puff Pass. The Stoners for Card Game is what it says on the box.
The Stoners for Card Game?
The Stoners for Card Games. So that is the thing that we're going to do, and I don't know how well it'll work, but it's going to be fun, I'm pretty sure.
I hope
we
so.
just did like an experimental one, and it was funny, and we went on for like 20 minutes at the end of something else we recorded. So I think that should be a rollicking good time. And that is for $20 and up patrons, and those are twice a month, unless there is a holiday usually, or something major that happens. But I don't think we've decided on what will be the subject for the one after this one.
Not yet, no. I think some people in the group had some ideas, but we ended up doing the game, the Puff Puff Pass game.
Oh, right.
But
Yeah.
So I have to go back and check and see what the other games were, or other ideas people threw out.
That's part of the perk of being a patron, too, is that you get to submit ideas of things that you would like for us to talk about on Unsober.
Yeah, and
because sometimes we'll have a good run where we're like, oh, yeah, we have ideas, and then we'll go through a phase where, like, I have no thoughts or opinions of any kind on anything.
To the group!
I gotta tell you the story really quick, and then we'll wrap. I think I told Jamie this story already on the Doctor Who, so forgive me, guys, if this is a repeat for you. A friend of mine was posting in this group about how her friend, he started dating this girl, and it seemed fine, and she seemed really nice. And then when she was talking to her friend, he confided that his girlfriend doesn't seem to have any, like, real opinions on anything or stances on things, in a way that really isn't even like, oh, I'm trying to be centrist. It's not even political stuff. It's just he'll be like, well, which one of these foods do you like better? And she's like, they both have their pluses and minuses. And he can't get her to, like, say anything for sure. And he was like, it's driving me nuts. I feel like I can't have a conversation. And he said, do you know what I asked her? I asked her, what's something that makes you mad? And she said, one time they didn't take my last tag off when I checked my luggage at the airport, and they're supposed to take it off when you have a flight that you cross over on. They were supposed to do that, and I was mad they didn't. He asked her what makes her mad, and it's not even like injustice. It's not even like a concept she names. Or like a pet peeve. I hate when people don't signal. It was an instance of one thing that ever happened in her life. Can you imagine? Oh. You ask me what makes me angry, and you are going to need to sit down and get yourself a drink and some food and a pillow and blankets and your alarm clock, because I will not stop talking. What is it like to just not really have anything to reach for?
Oh my God, I can't imagine.
To live without that, like,
that must
rage
be
in you.
So peaceful.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. What is that like? At the same time, she sounds like she sucks. So I don't know if I want to be like that.
She sounds like she sucks.
I mean, it's not somebody you want to spend time with, right?
That was such a 180. Look at if I got whiplash. Jesus Christ.
You know. Pluses and minuses to everything. All right, guys. We'll see you next week with 2 more chapters. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.